What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update. Romero, got some quotes from him on receiving 0 yellow cards so far in 2024, and he says it's something I've worked on. I've realized I've been picking up too many cards at some points here and there. When you're a defender, you have to tackle. My style has lent itself to picking up cards in the past, though working on it you can try and eradicate certain things, maybe daft yellow cards for the protesting too much or clashing with someone. With the style of defender I am, those clashes can be unavoidable sometimes if you have a face-off with someone. I respect every opponent and team I play against. Whatever the clash happens, whatever clash happens, it stays on the field. I've been working on it, hopefully eradicating some of those cards, and I only picked up 4 cards this season on the whole season, 1 red card as well. He's got as many yellow cards as goals as a Spurs player this season. 0, like I said, in this current calendar year. It's clearly something that he has worked on, and it's clearly something that's working.
Yeah, and I think obviously he's at his best when he's kind of towing that line, and obviously he's a very aggressive defender. We know how he likes to put a challenge in. Maddison alluded to it in that interview that we posted on our channel after the Palace game about, you know, some players like to get a rise out of the opposition, and Romero is definitely one of those players. But if I remember rightly, I think it might have been for the first 10 games of the season, there was a whole big thing made of that. Not only did he not have a yellow card, he hadn't made a foul, I think, at the beginning of the season. So it's definitely something he has.
And then it went to shit in the Chelsea game.
Yeah, it did. That obviously, for some reason or other, that blew up. And since then, he has picked up a few cards, obviously. But he is obviously a player who does toe the line. I do feel like he is at his best when he's a bit more controlled. He uses that aggression to his advantage rather than going overboard and picking up cards and picking up fouls and getting into stupid situations. So I'm glad he's noticed that, and I'm glad it is something that he's working on, because some people argue, you know, you don't want to take out of his game, you don't want to turn him into a different type of defender and take that aggression out. And it's true, you don't, but you want him to do it in a more controlled way, and I feel like that's when he's at his best, and I think that proves it. I think he's been brilliant since he's come back from his injury. He was obviously brilliant at the beginning of the season as well, so let's hope he continues in this form. But I think in this kind of form, he's one of the best defenders in the league, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's a massive narrative, especially from fans outside of Tottenham, saying he's just a hothead, he's reckless, he'll put you into so much trouble throughout the course of the season. And I'm looking at it and looking at his stats. He only had averages 1 red card a season, which isn't too crazy. And now last season he got himself 11 yellow cards, the season before 8 yellow cards, this season only 4. So I think that the narrative should be changing on Romero, shouldn't it?
I think obviously the big moments stick in fans' minds when they talk about him. So when they think, is Romero rash, they're going to look back at that Chelsea game and see, you know, I think he could have been sent off twice and was sent off the second time. Yeah. And so that game clearly sticks in your mind. And obviously, sometimes he does have a rush of blood to the head, not even in red card moments. You know, sometimes he steps out in defence, gets caught, and he can be a bit rash, but I think the rule wouldn't be he's a rash defender. I think more often than not, he's very good and he's very controlled. But in some games, that does become apparent that you can be rash, and that's what opposition fans are going to cling on to. I would prefer that he doesn't have those moments, obviously, but with the defender, the way he plays, it's going to happen sometimes, and I think you just got to take with that the rough with the smooth. And I think there's a lot more upside to having Romero than not. So I definitely don't think he's a liability or rash like some opposition fans claim, but I don't think we can deny that he does have his moments.
No, 100% he has his moments, but I think those moments are becoming few and far between now. You look at that moment in the Milan game last year in the Champions League, and then you look at the moments against Chelsea. I mean, they are really few and far between.
Yeah.
We're going to finish off talking about the new European format going into next season. It's looking like at this stage Spurs will be playing at least some sort of European football next season, whether it be Champions League, Europa League, and if it goes really badly, then the Conference League. But there is an interesting change. I would like to see what you guys think about it in the comments section below. So the way it's going to work is there's going to be 36 teams in one big league next season. Each team will play 8 games, 4 home games, 4 away games, and those will be all based on seedings coming into the tournament. The 36 teams will be divided into 4 pots of 9. Pot 1 will have the title holders of the UCL and the 8 best teams with the best coefficient. The champions of the domestic leagues and the UEL title holders will no longer be prioritized for pot 1, and pots 2 to pot 4 will be ordered by club coefficient. Each club will be drawn to play 2 teams from each pot, 1 home, 1 away. So unlike in the current format, a club in pot 1 will play a game against 2 from clubs from pot 1. 2 other clubs from pot 1, sorry. So as a general rule, clubs from the same association will not be drawn against each other. However, to avoid deadlocking, the leagues with 4 or more clubs could play each other, could play a team in their own league once potentially. So that's a change from the other European, the way it works. So in terms of the way it works to qualify for the next round, teams 1 to 8 will get automatic qualification into the last 16. If you finish from 9 to 12th, you go into a playoff round. And if you finished from 25th
9 to 24, you mean?
Sorry, 9 to 24. And then 25th to 26 will be eliminated from all European competition. And if you go out in the playoff round, that again, eliminated from all European competition. So no Europa League, no Conference League, if you get eliminated from the Champions League or the Europa League. So I think that's a positive change, to be honest. Because I think that it was a bit of a kick in the teeth for teams that qualified for the Europa League, and you're looking like all the teams that you're going to face, and then suddenly you've got Barcelona dropping down to the Europa League, or these kind of teams, like rewarding failure essentially. So I didn't really like that. In terms of the way it's going to work with a massive league instead of 8 phases, how do you see that working?
I think there's good and bad. I think mostly this is a fresher format, which will make for a more exciting group stage phase. I think we're going to get more games with between bigger teams facing each other, which is exciting. Also means that the games do count later in the competition. It's not going to be over essentially for a lot of teams, after game week 3 if you've had a bad start, and it gives teams more of an opportunity to get into the next round of qualifying. Obviously, it does make it a bit easier for the top teams to make sure they do qualify, because they just have to finish in the top 24 to get to the next round. Obviously, only the top 8 though qualify automatically for I think, was it the quarterfinals or the last 16? I think maybe it is. So I think it will definitely kind of make it more exciting, the group stage. I'm excited to see that, but on the flip side, it is more games, and in a kind of time where the amount of games that players are playing is kind of at the forefront of discussions about, are they being overplayed? Is it too many games? Especially with, like, there's now Nations League and put in with international friendlies and international qualifying, and you've got now 2 domestic cups and now a couple extra games in the Champions League. Obviously, that's a conversation which some people argue. You're adding more games at a time where the game has never been more intense than it is now, and you're already seeing a record number of injuries this season, especially in the Premier League. So, is that a problem? Adding more games? I think some would argue maybe yes, but it is only 2. It's not like you're adding a load more games in terms of the group stage. You have to find time to fit it in, though.
It's but 2 as well. But then you got the extra games for the playoff round as well.
You have the extra games for the playoff. Yes, I guess, yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how it works. So the top 8 go straight to the last 16, and then you have a playoff. Okay, so potentially an extra, if some teams will be an extra 4 games, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's not insignificant. So there's definitely a conversation to be had there. But I do think in terms of how it will revamp the excitement of the Champions League, I think right now group phases are, I don't know, I don't find that exciting, especially at the latter stages. Most groups are wrapped up by 2 games to go a lot of the time. There's very rarely a group of death anymore, and so this will make sure that there's more good games, there's more games against the top sides, and it keeps the group phase more alive into the latter stages. So I guess that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that kind of brings up.
I think it's just another way to make more money, to be honest, by UEFA. And, they made a concerted effort in the video that they put out today to say that it's all done on sporting merit. Obviously, a big shade to the what's it called? The Super League that didn't get banded together a couple of years back. I don't mind too much in terms of, from a consumer level, from someone that watches football, it's going to be very exciting because you've got more football, which is all great for us. But in terms of from a professional level playing the game, I think these extra games are completely needless. We're seeing already fixture congestion and fixture clog up throughout a whole season. Like you mentioned before, players getting injured. I think we've had a record number of injuries in the Premier League this season. You're looking at Tottenham, Newcastle, Manchester United. They've struggled to get teams together at times because of the injuries, along with the World Cup, which was midway through the season last year. And I just feel it's pretty needless in terms of clogging up the fixture list. Maybe they could have revamped it in a way where you kept the same amount of games that the Champions League have this season. I thought that might have been probably a better route to go down. Me personally, I didn't feel that there was a need to revamp the Champions League, to be honest, because I feel like it's very exciting competition throughout. And you say there are no groups of death. Like, I think Newcastle are pretty much in a really good group this year with AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund, and themselves. So I think group stages, they probably could be a bit more exciting, but I think they are a spectacle, and it's great to see. Like I said, I really don't mind them revamping the Champions League, but I just feel like these extra games are just a bit of a money grab from UEFA.
Potentially. I do think this would benefit the group stage, though. I do think by and large, you're right, the Newcastle group was really exciting, but that's 1 in 8, you know what I mean? And the rest were by and large not that exciting.
I PSG in that group as well, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking this kind of format, it's going to mix up the games, and we're going to get bigger games as well, more games with the bigger sides facing each other with how it's lined up, especially in the group stage. So I do think it's going to be more exciting, but you're right, there's definitely a conversation to be had about the playing time, and that's not an insignificant conversation as well. So I would like if there wasn't added more games. I would like if they did that in a way. So people will be right to criticize adding extra games to the calendar because we're already clogged up. So look, but at the end of the day, that's how they've done it, and not much more we can do at this point.
Maybe the way they should have done it is literally just the top 16 teams go into the last 16, and that's it. Instead of adding this playoff round, or maybe even just the top 8 go into the last 8 and do it that way, and it goes straight into a quarterfinal.
Something like that.
I feel like this playoff round's a bit needless, and if you finish 24th out of a 36 group phase tournament, you can go on and win the tournament, which is a bit crazy.
Yeah, or maybe I agree with you. I think it's silly that they've added this extra round. Why have they extended it to 36 teams? I'm not really sure. Not sure the reason why.
Could work in our favour though. At the end of the day, if we do finish 5th and England do get that 2nd place in the coefficient ranking,
won't be complaining if that happens.
Yeah, but that is it from us. Let us know. Do you like the new format of the Champions League, Conference League, and Europa League? Do you think it is a bit of a money grab from UEFA, or is it the right steps to revamp the tournament? Did the tournament even need revamping? Let us know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.